Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined as always by Chris, the Technician Aceto, on this April 24th, 2017 afternoon. And Chris, the Arnold Classic Brazil is now in the books, and we have a new champion in the way of Lukas Osladil. Surprise, surprise, surprise. This guy is always surprising. He somehow winds up winning pro shows and going to the Olympia. He did it in the 212 division. He did it in the open division. He did it again here with a very big win in Brazil, upsetting Juan Morel, who a lot of people felt, I think you and I probably felt he was going to win this pretty easily. And, he just proved that conditioning does win shows.
Yeah, no, he that's the bottom line. You can't add to that statement. He won the show on conditioning. I mean, in balance, too, I have to say. We're coming into, like, shows recently where people don't have legs.
Yeah.
And he has legs. You know what I mean?
He's balanced. You're right. He reminds me of, and I don't know if, people are going to disagree with me probably, but he reminds me of a Andreas Munzer. Because
he does.
Munzer never had like blow away body parts, but he just was so hard that you just couldn't deny the guy. And Munzer competed during an era when you had the Flex Wheelers and Sean Ray's out there and Nassers, and this guy placed second at the Arnold when there was only one Arnold. A couple, I think once or twice. He was good because he was so consistently in shape, and Lukas Osladil has always been known throughout his career. And I'll tell you where I first saw Believe in Us. So I got to give credit where credit's due. Bill Comstock, who used to work for MD and then worked for me a little bit at RxMuscle. Bill Comstock shot pictures of this guy, black and whites, in Venice. No one knew remember those?
You sent those pictures to me.
Yeah, no one knew who he was. He was ridiculously shredded. He wasn't that big back then.
Yeah, he was peeled in those pictures. They're black and whites from the beach.
Unbelievable shots that Bill did. They were like kind of throwback, to the Muscle Beach era shots. That's the look he kind of grasped. And I'm like, I wonder if this guy can do anything, because he's just not that big, but he is crazy shredded, and he's just little by little gotten better and better and better. Yeah, and I think you said the same thing. We thought it was a mistake for him to move from 212 to open class because this guy's not going to be big enough. And sure enough. He won his first pro show. I think did he win the Frigno Legacy or something like that?
No, he beat Jose at the Phoenix.
Oh, the Phoenix show. That's right. And he qualified for last year's Olympia. Yeah. And then this year, he's like, I'm going to go do the real thing now. And he does the Arnold Brazil and he wins. That's a tremendous feather in his cap. It's not taking anything away from him, and there were only 7 guys in the lineup, but and it wasn't the strongest lineup. But he beat some guys who've been placing top 5. Juan Morel's won pro shows. Michael Lockett has been top 5 in pretty much every pro show he's done.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a slumpy win, but he came in at his best, and I think people should take note of this, because if you want to come in and be recognized, for what you're doing, you got to show up in shape. It's just, there's nothing we can stress more than that. And this guy proved that's important by knocking off a guy of the caliber of Juan Morel. Now, looking at Juan Morel's pictures, I sent them to you before, because we have the contest photos on gallery.rxmuscle.com. Juan was certainly not his best. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever seen Juan in worse conditioning. He looked full, but his conditioning was just not dry and hard.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's and what happens is if you have a weaker body part and his legs are weaker, if they're not peeled, of course they're going to stick out even. They're going to look weaker than they even are, right? Because if you're not conditioned, the weak body part looks even more out of balance compared to, the big giant body parts, which is chest, shoulders, and arms.
Yeah. And not taking anything away from I want to take anything away from Michael Lockett, but Michael Lockett almost beat Juan Morel. In rounds, the first 2 rounds, in the first round, which is the prejudging, Juan beat Lockett pretty well. But in round 2, which is the final round, it was only a 1-point separation, and actually Lockett beat Juan in the posing round. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Juan sneaking by that first round, it could have gone. Juan could have wound up in third place, and Lockett was in second. Because Lockett's conditioning was awesome. He's got the small leg, that one leg that's a little smaller, but I mean, he was peeled.
Yeah, he was in tremendous shape. He's I mean, that type of. The only thing that's holding him back is his legs. It's just so many. It's so weird that so many people. You don't see great. Lukas has tremendous legs. And you don't see a lot of bodybuilders right now with
No.
I mean, tremendous legs. I mean, outside of the Olympia, obviously there's people in the Olympia with.
When they're peeled, Olympia, so, when they're peeled to the bone too, that doesn't hurt either. It makes them look even that much better.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Lockett's got peeled legs. They're just not dense. He doesn't have that fullness to them because he's not. I think he has an injury. His whole career, he's always had that right leg was always smaller than the left leg, and I don't think he can squat. I think that's his problem. I think he's got a knee problem. And you know what happens.
Could a Dexter won with 7 days of dieting?
Yeah, probably no dieting. He could have won.
He would have been full.
Yeah. Now when I saw Johnny Jackson's name in the lineup, I said to myself, "Here's a guy who can win. This is a show Johnny Jackson can certainly win." Obviously, he didn't come in at his best. You're not working with him, are you anymore?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
no, if he was in the shape when he did win the San Antonio, this show would have been a cakewalk for him.
Yeah, I think he would have won. I think he would have walked through the show because his upper body is way better than Lukas's. But like you said, Lukas has got balance though too. Sometimes balance really helps. A lot of these older guys in their 40s are starting to lose their legs a little bit, so that could be a problem. And legs don't get better when you're in your 40s. It just doesn't happen. Whatever you got is what you got. If you have great legs, going into your 40s, you probably be all right, because there's enough muscle there to hold on. But they're not improving, that's for sure. Now, I see Guy Cisternino, who is really good, well-conditioned, finished in 7th, which I was surprised. I thought he would see him higher in this lineup.
Yeah, I think he had a... he just sent me some pictures. He had a film for him. You know what I mean? He had good fullness. He was hard. Of course, he's always going to be hard. But he didn't have a wacky peeled condition of Australia.
Was that a judgment call, or did it just something just go wrong?
No, I think
Did he pull the old "I want to be bigger and fuller" deal?
No, okay. No. He had no problem getting tight for Australia, so we kind of sort of to some degree repeated what he did for Australia.
Yeah.
But I think he was struggling with, and I know he listens to the show, density issues, if that makes sense.
Well, he's a 212 guy doing the open. I mean,
he was struggling with density. I was having him. I don't do anyone's training or anything, but I would say, cut back on your volume. Cut back on your volume. Mm-hmm. And what that really means is, you look like there's not. It appears that there is not a guy level of snap push to the muscle. Mm-hmm. Coming into the show and still dieting, right? So when you don't have that muscle has that rugged look, if you continue to diet hard on it, then you fall apart anyway. You just get small.
Yeah.
So, I was having him cut back on his volume and it's just fine tuning really for him. But he was really cut here.
Well, you know what the problem is though, Chris.
With
212, he has to suck down to make that 212 and diet his ass off, and he knows no one's going to be bigger than him really there, except maybe a Flex Lewis or something like that. So when you're doing the open, it's kind of well, I want to be as big as possible and hard. And the funny thing is, Guy is hard even when he's 10 pounds off his contest weight. He's still got better glutes probably than most of the guys in the lineup, but it's not a crisp hard. I think that's what you're saying. It's not like a dense hardness, and sometimes you're better off being a little smaller and more dense. And I think in this lineup, a guy would have been fine coming in, at 212 pounds, because even though Juan was bigger than him, Juan wasn't in shape, and Lukas certainly wasn't that much bigger. Lukas might have been 225 maybe.
He's probably high 220s. I think.
Yeah, maybe even lower. Who knows? He could be 220 for all we know. But it looks bigger because he's shredded, and that's the bottom line. Now, Chris, there's been a lot of criticism. Sean Ray was one of the people who put up a video, and I'll give him credit where credit's due when he puts up a good opinion piece about the fact that he's blaming the athletes for this poor Arnold Classic turnout. Like he's like, you guys they get all this prize money they're putting up. They're promoting these shows and people are not showing up. And then if you don't show up to these bodybuilding shows, then they're going to stop holding these bodybuilding shows. And I think he used the example of the Europa shows, the Betty Pariso had Pariso shows. They used to be all open, bodybuilding shows. Now they're all no open bodybuilding. They do 212, because they just, it's a much greater expense to hold an open show. And if guys are not going to show up and the lineups are going to suck, then no one's going to want to hold these shows because it's not drawing a crowd. In other words, if the lineup is so bad in an open men's show, who's going to go pay a ticket to watch it? And that's really what it amounts to. A promoter can justify putting up a pro show because even though it's more expensive, if he's getting a good crowd. But if he's not getting a crowd because of the show, because the lineup is weak, then why hold a pro show? Why hold the opens men's show? You can hold a 212 and give less prize money away, and you might even get a better lineup and a better turnout. So, what do you think about that?
I guess what's the question?
The question is it the onus of the bodybuilders to start stepping up and doing more shows? If they want to keep these shows.
You can't.
No, you can't.
Do shows.
But I'm saying, look.
Dave,
Juan Morel is hitting a lot of shows. I can't take that away from him. He competes.
Dave,
yeah.
I guess if Juan and Lukas, just imagine if Juan and Lukas didn't show up, there'd be 4 people on the show.
Right, but I'm saying Lockett shows up at a lot of shows. Juan shows up at a lot of shows. Guy does a lot of shows. I mean, shouldn't there be more guys that are out there hitting up a few more shows every year to keep the excitement about it? I mean, when you have to get 212 guys doing open class, I mean, come on. I mean, what is it saying? It seems like there's more pros now than ever, and we don't see any guys competing in pro shows. What's going on?
Well, why is that? I don't know why that is.
I'm asking your opinion. You're very insightful.
Well, I think 2 things. I think I'm just what is the prize money for third?
I don't really know what the prize money was, but
okay, it's probably what.
It's not terrible though. It's way better than a lot of these I guess you could say single shows that are just really first time shows that we don't really see a lot, that are popping up all over the place. But it's certainly, more than the average show, the Arnold.
Well, there's, I said it before. Money will get people to do stuff, right?
Right.
Money will get bodybuilders to compete. So if there's bigger money in the show, mm-hmm. I would think more people would come out. Other than that, I don't know why people aren't competing.
Well, they gave away $30,000 first prize for the Arnold Brazil. I mean, that's a nice paycheck. Who's getting that? I mean, aside from Chris, most guys cannot win.
Hold on.
Most guys can't win the Arnold Classic USA, and most guys can't win the Olympia, which is the 2 biggest paydays. Okay, if someone's putting out $30,000 for first prize, that's a pretty big incentive for me, at least, to want to compete in that show.
Well, you have no argument for me. Yeah. I just think the Arnold. Here's the oddness of it. You are 100% right. Sean Ray, oh my gosh, I got a duck to see if lightning gets me. Is 100? Am I saying this? Should we edit this out? 100% right that these guys, whoever these guys are, got to compete more when there's $30,000 on the line because it's not chump change. And if you don't compete, yes, the shows will go away. Goodbye. But at the same time, you're not going to drag out. I mean, unless you're like, you're not going to drag a lot of top names out for a potential $30,000 payday.
Okay, but look, Chris.
In other words, you're not going to get
the New York Pro is coming up in what? 3 weeks?
Yeah, they'll have 400 people in the show.
Right. Why isn't that lineup doing this show? It's only 3-week difference. I mean, come on. There's probably guys in that lineup who could have walked through this show. And they can't get ready 3 weeks early? I mean, give me a break.
Well, no, I said Sean Ray's 100% right. You're 100% right. Christian Duque will probably have a field day that I'm saying that. Good thing only like 3 people listen to his show. Yeah. Whatever that is. But, I mean, you got to have people competing. You got to have... Part of it is, Dave, I don't know, maybe the Arnold, it's an invitational show. Maybe they just open it up.
They'll invite. Believe me, those anything aside from the USA, they're open to people saying, "Hey, we'd like to do the show." I mean, if you got some good, let's think about it for a second. Who's doing New York Pro this year? That is a big standout name. I'm trying to think. They're making their pro debut or doing something.
Victor, Akeem,
right.
Sergio.
Right.
There's the top three there.
Yeah. Why aren't those three guys in Brazil would have been amazing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense. The big danger is, you know what? If they had added this year a classic pro division, they probably would have got like 35 guys in the show.
Yeah, exactly.
So they the writing might be on the wall, guys.
Well, it's bothersome to me. I mean, I can tell you that. And you know what? You can't say the classic physique division is going to supplant the open division. I'll tell you why. Because most of these guys in the classic division are going to move to the open eventually because they're going to get too big, and they're going to want to move up. So to me that's a farm system for the open division. I don't believe that one is going to cannibalize the other. I think there's plenty of pros out there who could have done this show, who were doing New York, who were doing a couple of the shows after that, that easily could have jumped into this show or easily could have planned to do the show. You don't have to jump into a show. I mean, the show is existing since the beginning of the year. We knew since November we knew the show was going to be here. So I think that the athletes have to step up unless they don't care if they take away some of the shows. I mean, if the athletes don't give a crap, that's fine. But you know what? Look what happened to women's bodybuilding. No one did that. Same thing happened. And they said, "Look, we'll just get rid of it. That's all. If you guys don't want to compete, we don't care." The IFBB is going to make plenty of money. They don't give a shit if there's no pro bodybuilders. We'll hold the Olympia. That's it. The bikini, figure, fitness, men's physique, classic physique. I mean, they got a million divisions, so they're not worried about it. Now, if we segue from the men's open to the women's figure division in Brazil here. You had an Olympia lineup. You had Latoya Watts, who won, came back and redeemed that loss at the Arnold Classic. Sydney Gillen, who's also a top 3 in the world. She was second. And one of the girls from Brazil, Michelle da Silva, was third. So, I mean, you had a stellar figure lineup. So, I mean, there's no reason why the men's bodybuilders shouldn't be just as good. I don't understand it. And you know what? The great thing about the Arnold, Chris, is that they fly you down there and put you up and drive you around and give you money for meal money, and everyone makes a few bucks. I mean, if I'm a pro bodybuilder, I want to do every Arnold. I mean, those are the shows that you treated with VIP treatment. Aside from the Olympia, I mean, the Arnold Classics are top notch. Every other show, you have to fly yourself there. You have to pay for a hotel. You got to pay for food. Transportation. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do the Arnold? I mean, it's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, no, it's the question of the day. It's stunning, really, that there's only. I mean, I don't know. You for going back to the men's open. Do you just not have an invitational? Maybe people say like, "Oh, I'm not going to get invited anyway. They don't think I'll place, some good bodybuilders or whatever."
Or you make an invitational for the top 5 or 7, and then you anyone else who wants to do it can do it, but they got to pay their own way. That's all.
Yeah.
And you might get, how like you get these every once in a while. You'll see in the NFL, you get a walk-on guy who didn't get drafted, and a walk-on for a team and try out and make the team, and then he becomes this big star in the NFL. It doesn't happen a lot, but and then that guy. I mean, it's a great feel-good story because it's like, oh, all the scouts missed this guy, but he showed up and won. Imagine you get someone who walks onto the Arnold like that, and he wins the show. Because a show like this, it probably could have happened. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but I'll tell you this: a lot of guys missed a good opportunity here to do well.
Yeah, no, it's just Max Charles could have.
What about Lionel Baiki?
Lionel Baiki could have. Dexter could have. Rolly could have.
I'm trying to think about
a comeback.
Yeah.
Dennis Wolf could have made a comeback, even out of his bet. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting ready. So, I mean, think of the guys in the Olympia. Who's the guy? I can never remember his name. Looks like Kai Green.
Oh yeah. What's his name?
It's crazy.
I got his face. I got his face in my head.
With the golden tooth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys.
This is called old. This is called old age. This is an old age incident. Yeah.
No, I mean, there's 10.
William Bonac.
We'll see when we go to New York, or I'll go to New York, and you'll see people who look great, and they'll probably end up 8th, and you say, God, they would have done really good in New York. Yeah. I mean, in Brazil. Which,
by the way, just for those of you who have been asking me, I will be in New York. Chris will be in New York. Johnny Styles will be in New York, and my photographer will be there. So we'll have some full coverage of the New York Pro in May 20th. I'm combining. It's a combined weekend. I'm going to go see my dad, and I'm going to come to the show up in White Plains, which is, by the way, right by my good friend Dr. Blau's house. So maybe I'll go spend the day with him too.
Who's the better doctor, Dr. Blau or the Dr. Tony? Does Tony call himself doctor? No, he doesn't, right?
Tony Huge? Yeah.
Yeah. Does he say Dr. Tony Huge? Is he a doctor?
No.
But he uses the name doctor, right?
His name is Anthony Hughes, but he goes by Dr. Tony Huge, just because it's like close. Okay. No. So, Dr. Tony. Chris is like, I got to make an appointment to get my skin checked for skin cancer. I'm going to go to Dr. Tony Huge to do a skin check on me. So yeah, we will be there for the New York Pro. It's going to be exciting. I have never seen this new venue, by the way. I heard it's nice. So it'll be White Plains is a beautiful little town there.
Yeah, it is.
I lived right there for 3 years when I went to medical school. So we'll have to hit a couple restaurants over there for after the show. All right. There was another division. They had a men's. Wait, hold on. I'm looking here. Maybe I'm not looking right. I'm looking at the wrong show. All right. There was another show this weekend. However, Chris and I will not be able to fully report on it because it's not done yet. We record this radio show on a Sunday. The Europa Charlotte Pro Show that took place in North Carolina there is not over yet. It was a Saturday-Sunday show, and this afternoon will be the finals. But there was a terrific 212 division, Chris.
Insane.
I mean, the talent pool is super deep. Nicholas Vouliad from Switzerland, who we have been previewing left and right on Muscle in the Morning because this guy is a little freak. He calls himself Quadzilla, which I think is kind of like almost like I don't know. It's a little disrespectful to the late Paul DeMeo, who I think really retired that name. They should have retired it like his jersey number, like they do in
maybe
sports.
They should call him Deltzilla.
Yeah. But Vouliad has got a crazy physique. He's got insane conditioning. But the pictures that I've seen from the show of him so far, it looks like he's got some kind of an abscess on his shoulder, or maybe both shoulders. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I noticed it.
I mean, I don't know if the judges have noticed it enough because it looks like he's vying for that first and second, third place spot against Craig Richardson, He's another Dexter Jackson, this guy. I mean, just with less mental focus than Dexter Jackson because he's so talented. I mean, I remember when Craig won the teen nationals back in the 90s, and this guy's still going. I mean, I know you're working with him now. I've worked with him in the past, too. He's a super nice guy. I mean, you can't get a better guy, family man, married to the same woman for God knows how long. And, this guy looks better than I've ever seen him, Chris. I mean, this is unbelievable the way he looked at this show.
Yeah, he's been competing. It's ridiculous how long he's been competing. I think, what year did he win the Teen Nationals?
I can't even remember. That's how long it was. Maybe 95? I don't know.
95.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, it's just, his name's been around. It's 95, 205, 15, for 22 years, right?
Yeah, and I mean, he was a great open bodybuilder. He won pro shows, and now he's, doing great in the 212 division. So, I mean... I can't believe it, but he looks that freaking good. I mean, you had him peeled. I mean, this is the best I've ever seen him, probably.
Yeah, he was like bone desert dry, and he had good fullness. And I've seen some of the the videos. He's got the physique that things things really happen. You know what I mean? When he hits a front double, it opens up. You know what I mean? The legs like crazy separation.
And this is not this lineup is deep. You got Tricky Jackson in the lineup. Milton Martinez is really good. You got Hollywood Glenn in this lineup. So I mean, it's not a weak line. Milan Sadik, who is also super impressive.
Yeah, he looked
very impressive
tremendous.
in this lineup. Who's going to win? I don't know. It looks like Vuliad. You know, they liked him, but I like I said, I can't see this guy being allowed to win with the abscesses in the shoulder.
Who do you, based on what you've seen? Because I can give me your assessment of who won the prejudging.
I don't know. I would have had Craig Richardson, but I wasn't there. You know, first of all, I hate to say who should win because you and I are not there in the front row. If we were there in the front row, we can give our opinion. But I will say this: I think that when you have an abscess in your shoulder, and it happens, look, it's not because he's shooting synthol and doing stupid stuff. He probably took a bad shot, whatever. Some of these guys are just dummies. They don't go and get antibiotics, and for whatever reason, something's going on in the shoulder, and you cannot reward that. Unfortunately, even if the guy has the winning physique, you can't reward it. You have to mark it down. And that's all there is to it. I'm sure that the judges are not going to allow this guy to win. And if they do, then you know what? We have a great topic for Monday's.
Well, what happened to Iris Kyle that year on the glutes?
Yeah, yeah. Iris should have won the Arnold Classic. They put her 8th or something like that because she just had a problem, you know, and that sometimes happens. It sucks, but it happens. But if
so minus just pretend the abscess is not there. The wacky delt. Or delts.
Yeah, I think that
break the prejudging down.
I don't know. I think that it's very close between Richardson and Vuliad. I think for that.
I don't know either. That's why I asked.
They have very different physiques. Okay, so Vuliad has that young looking muscle. He's got the crazy glutes and they're actually huge too. They're the craziest glutes I've seen in a long time. He's got great legs. He's good flow to his body. He's a little short, but he packs a lot of muscle on his body. I always liked Craig Richardson's physique. I think he's got an aesthetic-looking physique. His back double is always crazy because he also has the nutty glutes when they come in shape, and he's got a tiny waist. So, I mean, you can make a case for either guy. I think you give it to Vuliad because he's new. If there's nothing going on. But with the shoulders, I can't give it to Vuliad. I have to give it to Craig Richardson because Craig Richardson has a cleaner-looking physique, and you have to go with that, I think. Now, you and I might be completely wrong. We might have the whole placings wrong for all we know. When it comes out on the end of today, on Monday, you and I will do a special contest report, and we'll give our analysis of what happened and when all the pictures are out and everything like that. So the place I got the pictures was from Nicholas Vuliad's Facebook page. I went to his Facebook page. He got all the video there. He's got all the prejudging stuff. So that's how I looked at it. But once again, I'm not sitting in the front row, so I would never say that that I know more than the judges because I'm not there. So I always make that stipulation. But it happens to be a terrific 212 lineup, and I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to win that. Actually, the 212 lineup here might be better than the Arnold Classic lineup in Brazil.
Could be. I mean, there's a lot of depth. Yeah. I mean, condition-wise, it's slaughters Brazil. Take out Lukas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The condition on the top 3 is just destroy.
Yep.
Overall.
No, that's why the Aparisos are holding 212 divisions now and not open divisions. Now, they also had a men's physique division here that was super deep. They had like almost 20 people in that lineup. So it'll be interesting to see who emerges as the champion. I wanted to bring up something, and it was very disturbing that I found this out recently, this past weekend. And it happened a couple months ago. But Michael Anderson, who's a men's physique competitor, who's won several pro shows, he was very, very, very dominant when the division first came out before the guys got a lot bigger. And, and he wasn't a young guy. He was in his 40s, and he was cleaning up first, seconds, all over the place. And then he kind of disappeared, and I didn't know what happened to him. And I found out just recently from my friend Walter Martin, who's friends with him in Ohio there, that he had I don't know if he's I'm getting him on the TV show, so I'm going to get the whole story. Something happened to his leg. He got an infection in his calf or something like that. And it wasn't healing, and I don't know if it's because he's a diabetic. That's what I heard, but I haven't talked to him yet. So, and I heard it didn't heal, and he had to have the leg amputated from the knee down. Terrible. I mean, terrible story. I mean, now the only good thing about that is, I guess, once he gets his prosthetic, leg on there, the bottom part of his leg, he theoretically can compete in men's physique because they don't judge the legs anyway. But what a terrible story. I mean, just, it was such a freak thing that happened. And, I mean, it can happen to anyone really out there if you think about it. You guys got to be very careful with infections. Make sure you get on antibiotics. Make sure you address it. Don't take it seriously. We'll get him on the show. I think on Wednesday he's going to be on live with me, and we're going to get the full story and find out exactly what happened, because I don't really know what happened. I'm kind of speculating, but I do know that he lost his leg from the knee down, and he was a great men's physique, I guess, pioneer at least, because he was one of the first guys in the division. There was also a deep women's physique lineup as well in Charlotte. So when the results come in, we'll do a special contest report, Chris, on Monday on the TV show to talk about what went on, because this was an exciting event, and I don't want to skimp on it just because it was ended on a Sunday. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where these Sunday shows are coming from. I like the Friday-Saturday show better, but maybe I guess people work on Friday, so they figure Saturday-Sunday would be better. I know This Is Europa's like, they love this show because this used to be the Atlantic City show. They moved it to their hometown, so to speak, because Europa Sport Distribution is in Charlotte, North Carolina. So now they're holding the show right there, which I think is a good idea. I like it.
Yeah, it's well, I'm glad that someone's putting on shows, right, for the 212s.
Exactly.
I mean, what the crazy thing about a 212 class is, put on a show, you're guaranteed what? A lot of guys show up, guaranteed that, like, everyone's in great condition.
Yeah.
Right?
You're right. There was a pro men's physique show down in Utah, in Salt Lake City, Utah, this past weekend as well. Joseph Lee won. He'll qualify for the Olympia. Aria Safia second, and Dean Balabas in the third position there. So congratulations to those guys. There was also a pro bikini show down there where Norman Austria wins again. She's going back to the Olympia. She's very consistent. She always manages to find a show to win it every year, and she's got a great physique. So congratulations to her. And who was second here? Casey Samsel was second. And in the third position, there's so many bikini girls. There's 2 pages of it. Paige Hammermine.
Funny, you can't get a lot of guys showing up for the Arnold Brazil, but you can get have a bikini show and it's 700 show up.
Well, you know what's going to happen? The Arnold Brazil is going to turn into a bikini pro show. That's going to be the headliner, because at least they know they can get the top people in the world. They got the top figure girls in the world, so that's something. They did something right. Because usually Brazil has the pro fitness. They did pro figure this year. I think it was a good move because they got better. They got a better turnout. It sucks as a promoter when you're giving away money to have to beg people to come do your show. I mean, that there's nothing worse than that. I mean, these people should be begging to do this show.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
And like I said, the Arnold really rolls out the red carpet for you. I mean, they make you feel like you're a professional. I mean, why wouldn't you want to go to some place that pays all your expenses? Look, first of all, you get paid expenses down to Sao Paulo, Brazil. I mean, you're kind of getting a free vacation out of it, after all is said and done. You don't have to go back, the day the show ends.
Dave, I never heard it that way, but you
know what I mean? I mean,
the problem is I know, but
the last place guy,
any of it when you're cooking chicken and
but the last place guy is still going to have an extra day in Brazil there to kind of hang out on the beach or do whatever he wants, take some pictures, go sightseeing, go see the Christ the Redeemer, whatever you want to do up there. It's actually Christ the Redeemer is in Rio, I should say. I don't know what the highlights are in Sao Paulo, but I heard Sao Paulo is very nice as well. So anyway, let's see what else I got going on here. Talked about Sean Ray.
Sean didn't call you this week?
No, he didn't call me. I guess I owe him a phone call, right? Because he called me last. Did you hear about Melvin Anthony?
I did.
Melvin Anthony.
Yeah.
Marvelous Melvin Anthony, as Lonnie Tieper called him. Probably one of the most classic physiques of our era. One of maybe the best poser. I think he's better than Kai Green. One of the best posers in the pro division. I remember when he won the USA, I was actually in the show. Sucked because, he wasn't that big, but the guy had Flex Wheeler shape. And, he's a talent that just never really was, I don't know, he kind of lost his way, I think, somewhere along the way. I heard he had some drug issues. He was fighting and battling for years, drug addictions. And he was arrested, I know, a couple times. And just recently he was arrested, I guess, in Mississippi. He was caught with ecstasy on him and some other recreational drugs. And he was, Mississippi, they don't mess around over there, especially if you're a multi-offender. I think he also had a concealed weapon. And he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. So he's not facing 10 years. He got 10 years. And I'm sure 10 years.
So 10 years for, break it down for me. You get 10 years for selling ecstasy?
Well, I think it was the fact that he was a multi-time offender, right? He had the weapon, unregistered weapon thing is worse. Never carry a weapon. But I guess if you're dealing drugs, you don't want to get robbed, so you carry a weapon. I'm not a criminal, so I don't really know the criminal element. But I would assume if you're delivering drugs, and you're collecting large amounts of money, you probably need a weapon just in case something goes wrong. If you're going to be a criminal, you got to do it the right way. But when you get caught with a gun and drugs, and you've gotten caught before, there's really no leniency, especially when you're in Mississippi. I think back to My Cousin Vinny. Remember that movie with Ralph Macchio and
one of the best movies. Yeah,
Joe Pesci. You go to these little southern towns and you commit crime. They don't want criminals in their town, and they punish you for that. So he's going to jail for 10 years now. Now I don't know if it's federal or if it's state. If it's state, you can get out, a lot less time. Federal, you do most of your time, so that's not as good. Although federal prisons are usually not as harsh as the other ones. But when you go to jail for gun possession, you're usually with pretty hard criminals, so it's not going to be easy time for him. Now, if he was doing drugs, which I think he probably was, if he was addicted to drugs, this might be good for him because it might have saved his life. Give him the opportunity to clean out and reassess what's going on. Some people have to hit rock bottom, Chris, before they can, come back to the
the only
living
problem with that
world.
The only problem with that, of course, is you got to wait 10 years to.
Yeah, I'm sure he won't do 10, but even if he does 7, it's still a long time, like you said. It's
three days.
Yeah.
But
you know what? When you give someone a chance, you give him a second chance, as a judge, and then he comes in a third time. They always say the 3-time loser doesn't do well, in sentencing. Mm-hmm. But, at the same time, you say to yourself, oh, drugs. The guy didn't kill anyone. He didn't murder anyone. He didn't, there's murderers who get less time than he did. So
that's why I was surprised with the 10 years. When you told me 10 years is.
And the story I heard it's not hearsay. I got it off flexonline.com. So and they're pretty good with their sources. So I'm assuming it's pretty accurate. So I guess everyone out there could say a little prayer for Melvin Anthony because I always liked him. I got along really well with him. I thought he was a good guy. I thought he was smart. I thought he was smart beyond what he allowed himself to be smart with. You know what I mean? I think he was applying that smartness to things he shouldn't have been applying it to, and instead of doing it in a productive, creative manner. A lot of people don't realize not only was he one of the best posers, he used to do nails, women's nails for a living. He would manicures and all the stuff that goes along with that.
We saw him he was on that dating game show or dating.
Yeah, he did some girls' nails. So the guy was like super creatively talented. I just think he just didn't apply himself right. He should have been painting, paintings or creating sculptures or something like that for a living. It all depends on where you put your passions into, how you package them up, and how do you use them. Do you use them for good, or do you use them for bad? And sometimes people just take that creativity that they have and they say, "Ooh, I can make a lot of money doing this or that," and they think they're a little smarter than everyone. The problem is with drug dealing is that you always get caught. It's just a matter of time. The longer you do it, the more chance you are to get caught. And if you're doing drugs yourself, they always say
while selling drugs.
Yeah, they don't get high on your own supply. Yeah. That's the old saying. That's not good either. So. All right, well, Melvin, hopefully maybe I'll write to Melvin and see if he wants to, give us a couple statements for our show. I wonder if he could do a phone interview from prison. I don't know if they allow that though.
Well, he's not there yet, is he?
I don't know if he's in his final holding place yet. He's probably in like a temporary place right now. But once I'll figure out. The great thing about the internet now is you can find anything and find anyone on there, for that matter. I interviewed Ed Connors this past week, Chris, and he gave me a tremendous interview, and it'll be up next week. And one of the questions I had asked him was, speaking about jail, was Craig Titus, and he felt that Craig Titus did not kill that girl, and that the wife did, Kelly, and that Craig, tried to cover it up, and they made some poor decisions because they were on drugs, but he felt that Craig did not do that. He said that Craig, he actually told me a great story. He said Craig, every time someone would get into a fight in Gold's Gym, Ed would have to throw them out for like a month or something like that. That was the rule or something like that. So Craig got suspended more than any other person because he was always fighting in the gym. And he felt that, if Craig had wanted to kill this girl, he would have just broken her neck. He wasn't going to stun her and drug her and all these other things. So he said the method of death was not consistent with Craig Titus's character. So
well, sometimes I sent you the article about the guy who uses karate techniques to euthanize the kittens, right?
No. Oh yeah, you did show me that. Yeah, what a sicko.
I guess the point. No. The point is you don't. I'm confused on. So he didn't. Is he not to blame somehow?
Well, he's still to blame because they didn't call the police and everything like that. He said he blames the poor decision making on the fact that Craig and Kelly were doing like crystal meth and drugs and stuff like that. But he doesn't think.
I know there's an impetus. There's a cause for their loss of sanity.
Yeah, but I don't think that Craig. He doesn't think that Craig killed her. Like, in other words, when you're trying to say, when it's all said and done, does it really matter? But who is the one who actually killed the girl? Was it Craig or Kelly, or both of them? And he doesn't think it was Craig. He doesn't think that Craig would have killed her. He said that he thinks that Kelly killed her, and that Craig just tried to cover it up, basically. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We'll never know. We'll probably never know unless Craig Titus comes out and admits it. But you know what? If I was in jail, well, maybe he's got this. I guess he's got this belief that he's going to get out of jail at some point. So maybe he doesn't want to say anything. But he should just write a tell-all book. All right, let's take a quick commercial break, Chris, so the sponsors can be heard. When we come back, more Heavy Muscle Radio. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
A legendary name in hardcore supplementation. Iron Mag Labs. 100% original, patent-pending andro compounds. The most effective, hardcore, groundbreaking bodybuilding supplements in the world. Iron Mag Labs. Revolutionizing hardcore supplementation for more than a decade. Visit ironmaglabs.com. ironmaglabs.com.
Hi, I'm Dave Palumbo, and I just had a protein shake made with Quest Nutrition's new salted caramel protein powder. And I can tell you this, it's on a whole new level. It's a total reinvention of the protein shake. The taste is incredible, and its creamy texture and richness make it taste like a real caramel milkshake. It's incredibly low carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 22 grams of protein in every serving. No soy, and it's gluten-free. Just add water, ice, a scoop of protein, and shake it up. It's that easy. I actually look forward to drinking this shake. And Quest Nutrition has got a total of 7 different flavors. They come in convenient single-serving packets so you can mix and match. Check out loveyourproteinpowder.com for more information on Quest protein powders and some delicious shake inspirations. Welcome back to Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, talking with Chris, the Technician Aceto. And we just wrapped up the Arnold Brazil. We talked about the Charlotte Europa show. And now he takes us to our quote of the week. And I am trying to think about which one I wanted to talk about, my Amelia Earhart quote or my Vincent van Gogh quote. But I'm going to go with Vincent van Gogh, because a lot of people out there, don't believe in themselves, and they think that, if people tell them that they can't do this or they can't do that, you're not going to be a good bodybuilder, you're not going to be a good physique competitor, whatever the case may be, that they take it to heart. Sometimes it even comes from within them. They think that, people doubt themselves. They don't think they're good enough. And this quote is great by Vince Mango, who's one of the greatest painters in the modern era. All right, here it is. Quote, "If you hear a voice within you say, you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced."
Well, because it's human nature to be plagued by self-doubt, and you have to live outside your comfort zone. You have to live outside your comfort zone. You have to live outside your comfort zone. And the reason I repeat that is because people don't know. I mean, it's hard to know where your comfort zone begins and ends.
Right. Yeah.
And until you quote, take a risk, do something that is uncomfortable for you, you can't grow.
Right. I mean, when I first started bodybuilding, I can only speak for my own self. I looked at pictures of bodybuilders, and I saw like the Lee Haney's at the time, Rich Gaspari's, and I wanted to look like that, but I'm like, how the hell am I going to ever look like that? Well, let me start by looking like, something that I can achieve, and then I'll go from there. And that's really what I did. I mean, so never doubt yourself. You can do whatever you put your mind to. I always believe that if I had it to be a great accountant, I could be a great accountant, even though I don't like numbers, and all that stuff. If I had to be a great house builder, I could be a great house builder if I put my mind to it. I just don't, that's not something that I get excited about. So I try to do things that I enjoy, And so if you enjoy something and are passionate about it, even though if you have no clue how to do it, believe me, you'll find a way.
You figure it out.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I always thought that I would never be able to drive a stick shift car. For some reason, the whole concept of it, the clutch and then the shifter, it was too much. I'm like, I just don't get it. I don't know how people do this. And I wanted to buy this car, this BMW that only came in a stick shift. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do this. So I actually went to a driving school. I was 30 years old already. Went to a driving school, took a few lessons, and this guy showed me and taught me how to do it. And it was like I learned something that I never thought I would ever be able to do. And I know it sounds silly, but if you want to learn something or you want to be good at something, you got to do it. Just do it. Don't even worry about it. Just do it. Like he said, just paint, and that's the end of it. So. Don't have fear about what you don't know or what you can't do now, because if it's something that you're passionate about and you want to do it, do it. Just do it. Paint. If you don't know how to paint. You'll figure it out along the way.
Well, there's a lot of people too, don't you? You hear this a lot. I knew him when he couldn't even paint. So there's the outside forces as well, which people internalize, meaning they know those outside negativity forces are there. So if they're trying to improve on something, could be bodybuilding, could be painting. Yeah. They don't. Again, It goes back for me to their comfort zone. They don't push outside of that because it's either an internal limit on themselves, or they fear somebody will say, who's he think he is? I remember he's. I remember him when he was just doing paint by numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
George Bush turned out to be a good painter, by the way.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the George Bush President number 2. Yeah,
really?
He's good. Yeah, he's very good.
Well, at least he has talent. At least he has talent in some area, right? He wasn't a very talented president, but at least he can paint. But you know what? I always say everyone should have 2 passions at least, if not more, but 2 things that they're really into. So if one thing's not going so bad, like if you're not really that great a president, at least you could paint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the painting's not going so well, you can be a president. So, but the bottom line is, always have 2 things on the horizon that make you feel good about yourself. Don't have one thing, because when you put all your cards into one basket, if something goes wrong, you're not going to be a happy camper, and that's the truth. Believe me, I know plenty of bodybuilders that's all they got going for them, and then they find out because they have some kind of medical condition they can't bodybuild anymore, and that's the end of their life usually.
Well, wasn't that Dorian's line from the interview in England, that in-depth interview he did? He said he only had one basket.
Right, but he was a young man at the time, and he said, "I'm going to put everything into this one thing." But the bottom line, I mean, and it could have failed. He was lucky the experiment was successful. But I think what Dorian was able to do is, after bodybuilding, and even though he might have had a little bit of a mental breakdown, he was able to find things that he was passionate about and that he liked, and that he realized that there's a whole other world that he hadn't even seen because he had blinders on for so long because he was just so focused on bodybuilding. And that's why he did a lot of exploring, soul seeking. Who am I? Why am I here? What's this universe about? And that's just because Dorian's a smart dude. He always had a brain. He might not have nurtured it with school, but he was a self-taught guy, and that's why he was able to evolve and remain. I think a lot of these guys have no life beyond bodybuilding. And when it comes to an end, they get depressed, and that's the end of their life. I mean, Nasser Al-Sambadi comes to mind, Greg Kovacs, and I don't believe that. I believe we cause our own death. I do. I believe a lot of us, get to a point where we've achieved what we needed to achieve on this world, and then that's it, and we shut it down, and then somehow we get some kind of disease, you die, or you get into an accident, or something happens because it's just meant to be. I don't think that there's any coincidences in this universe. I don't think that things happen by accident. And so I try to find the meaning in everything that happens, at least to my life. So if something goes wrong, or I think it's going wrong, I'm like, well, maybe it's not really going wrong. Maybe it's just redirecting my energies at this point to a better place. And you could always find meaning in everything you do. And, my dad would say, you're rationalizing. My dad doesn't believe in that kind of stuff, but I do. I believe that everything that enters your life happens for a reason, and then it's how you deal with it that creates your ultimate final character. And I think I know people that have gone through. Look at you. You went through cancer, and you're definitely a different person after that. I mean, the compassionate level I'm sure you have is so much greater.
Well, do you know that live outside your comfort zone?
Yeah.
When you read that Van Gogh quote, the reason why it kind of rung a bell is because it's easy, right, to live inside your comfort zone. So I've been thinking lately, just kidding, of course. Maybe I need another scare with cancer so I can live outside my comfort zone. In other words, right, because when something big like that happens, then you just say, well, screw it, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it.
Yeah, but you're always living outside your comfort zone now. Why? Because you have kids. So your kids dictate.
I'm forever uncomfortable.
Yeah, your kids dictate now what your life is. It's not you.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
Yep.
I don't mean it in a negative way, but that is the truth.
It is. I have to be unselfish, and I have to pay a lot of attention to my son, and he comes first. And I'm sure when he starts playing sports, I'll want to go to his. My days will be, rather than me doing what I want to do on the weekend, we're going to do what he wants to do. Because that's more important. So I think kids definitely take you outside of your comfort zone. But I think a lot of people, kids save their life because they don't really have a lot of passion for anything else, but they put so much passion into their kids and nurturing them and taking them to do this and do that. I know guys that are great fathers. They're really not talented at anything else, but they are such good fathers that I'm like, wow, that's who I want to be like, And so everyone has something. You got to find your something. And when you find your something, it's gonna change your life, And sometimes it takes people a long time to find their something, and sometimes people know it when they're 10 years old. They know what their something is, but it's out there. I promise you. All right, let me see. I got a couple of. I don't know if I think I have some Ask the Technician questions. Yes. No, I don't have. I don't think I have any new ones for Chris. Let me see this.
I get them all wrong when you ask me. That's why. Say, give me multiple choice.
I don't have any questions for Chris. I thought I could have sworn that I had a couple questions. Do you have any Ask Dave questions?
No, I don't. But did you like multiple? Did you like multiple choice answers when you were in junior high and stuff? Because the answer's right there somewhere.
Yeah. Sometimes it's
versus. Right? Multiple choice. I thought, what a great idea for a student because the answer's right in front of you. Yeah. You have a chance of 1 in 4.
Yeah, but you know what?
D to get it right.
Yeah, but you know what they did in medical school? Everything was multiple choice, but this is what they would do. They had A, B, C, D. And so you figure, all right, well, you can eliminate it down, right? But then choice E was all of the above, and choice F was none of the above. So you had to know the answer, because if you didn't know the answer, then you couldn't guess, basically, because it might be, and a lot of times it was none of them, and a lot of times it was all of them. The all of them is a lot easier than the none of them. The none of them one is the worst, because when you look at a question, you're like, what the hell is this about? I don't know what the hell the answer is. So those tests were brutal.
A, B, C, and D, where the answer's there. You just got to check one of them. So at least you're going to get 25%. Of the you're not going to score less than 25% on the test. You could actually get a C.
Exactly. No, I
Think
never.
about that. You could just guess your way through.
Yeah, you're right. I actually I never had any. I never used any stimulants my entire life until I got to medical school, and my friend was like a stimulant junkie. He would take the. You remember the? I don't know if you remember. They used to have these ephedra pills, like they were little black beauties.
Oh, yeah,
they were called.
Yeah.
It's funny because they had them. You would order them from the back of like bodybuilding magazines, right? Remember they would have they were like generic ephedra. No one even knew what ephedra was back then.
No, they didn't. They
were called black beauties, and then they had some red beauties, which were like caffeine pills. So my friend used to order these things, and he would study on them.
They were made in New Jersey. Listen, right? They were made in New Jersey. Yes, there was a company in New Jersey, Dave, that used to bang those things out, and that's all they made. I forget the name of the company.
Really?
But maybe
pure ephedra.
Maybe around. I looked into it like mid '90s or something. I said maybe I can have them like make some capsules for me, and I can put them in a bottle or something and sell them. And it was in New Jersey, and they were doing like a million bottles a year of that stuff.
Yeah, and there's no internet. So they were the only people that you can get them from. Yeah.
You know where they'd advertised, the number one advertisement back in the day?
Where?
Playboy magazine.
Oh, they were in there too? I know they were in all the bodybuilding magazines. That's where that's where my friend bought them from. And what he said to me was, he goes, because these tests in medical school, like I said, were so difficult, these multiple choice tests, and there was like 150 questions that, you'd fall asleep doing the test. I mean, it was so he's like, look, this is what you do. I know you don't take any stimulants. Just take one of these the morning of the test. I promise you. I took one the morning of the test, and then I ate breakfast. I was so alert that when I got to this test, I finished so fast that the professors told me, look, go back and recheck your answers. You have 2 hours to take this test. It's only been 40 minutes. There's no way you finished the test. I mean, you don't. There's no reason to turn in this. I said, look, I checked it, I rechecked it. I don't want to, because if you change your answers, start changing answers, you always change them for the wrong. That's a rule of thumb. Most people who change their answers on a test, you get it wrong after that. So I said, look, I'm fine, and you know what? I got a great mark on the test, and ever after that, I always took one of those pills, and I didn't even know what they were at the time. Right before the test, I wouldn't use it any other time, just so that I can really focus on the test and read the questions and without getting tired and mentally fatigued. And man, those things work. Things work like crazy. I understand why kids take Adderall now, but you don't want to take that stuff on a regular basis because you get addicted to it. That's the only problem. How did that even come up?
I don't know, but my follow-up was, how did you not get addicted? I mean, if you were that, right?
Because I didn't. Because I didn't really need.
Discipline, or
I was very anti-drug back then, and like I said, I hadn't even drank any coffee. I had just right after that, I just started competing in bodybuilding, and I remember I was doing a diet, and I was like, oh, this is brutal. And some girl in the gym that I was friends with, I'm still friends with to this day, Janet Marsigo, she said, why don't you just drink a cup of coffee if you're so tired? Because I would come after medical school, and I'd be like, I got to go to the gym, I got to train and do cardio. I said, I don't really like coffee. She's like, just who cares? Put it sweet and low. This is when they only had sweet and low. You probably still use sweet and low.
Oh, yeah. I use the pink one.
The pink ones, yeah. Bob Grushkin, sweet and low. So I said, all right, I'll try it, whatever. Because I was so tired that one day, and I drank a cup of coffee. I had never had a cup of coffee, like full cup. I'm like, wow, this tastes delicious. Because, when you're dieting, a sweet and low in a black coffee is like an ice cream cone. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And man, I had the best workout of my life. And then I got addicted to coffee. So I started drinking a lot of coffee after that. But I never, as a pill popper, I was always like very scared about that. Like I was always into like, I don't want to take pills, and
How about Adderall? Have you used Adderall?
No, I've taken one once. and I did like the way I feel in it, and I knew that I would become addicted to that, so I did not use that. Because it makes you too productive, and I know, and you know what, I know that how this stuff works. It exhausts the neurotransmitters in your brain. So ultimately, after using it for weeks and weeks and weeks, you're gonna get depressed, and it's not gonna work anymore. And you're gonna actually just have to take it just to feel normal. And I knew that was not something I wanted to do. So, I see the appeal of them, especially for students, who are trying to compete and get scholarships and hold scholarships and get good jobs. But once again, there's got to be a fine balance. I don't have a problem with using those type of stimulants, but not all the time. You use them just absolutely when you need them, and that's the best way to do it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of addictive personalities out there, Chris, and that's really what it amounts to. That's why a lot of guys get sucked into recreational drugs. Not going back to Melvin Anthony again, but we know how Paul DeMeo got addicted, right? I mean, he had hurt his calf. He got a prescription for Percocet from his doctor, and before he knew it, he was on heroin. So it's very easy to like the way you feel too much on these, whether they be pain meds or stimulants, and because they do make it feel better temporarily, but not long term, of course.
No.
So,
it's an addictive. Everything's addictive these days. It feels like, right?
Yeah, well, we're an addictive society. I mean, we like we like our drugs.
Funny addiction. I try my best, and I do a good job. Turn my phone off a lot of the day, right? So I'm at the playground the other day, and there's probably eight parents there, some kids with their fathers. I mean, there's some men with their sons, or some fathers without their wives, or wives without their husbands. Adults. Everyone, the whole time was looking at their phone the entire time I was there. I can't, because I know if I took my eyes off my 3-year-old, he'd be gone completely, right. Off the playground somewhere. So, but it was an odd observation.
It's. I'll tell you one thing, and I don't know if I would be this bad. Maybe I would if I wasn't in the business I was in. But I get emails. I know you do too. Emails, texts, Facebooks, Instagrams, WhatsApps, all day long, all night long, from clients who are in Australia, China, whatever. All the people that I work with, and I answer very quickly, and people like that. But the reason I answer really quickly, more so than anything, is because I don't want them building up, so that when I get home, I have 600 emails to answer or 6,000 text messages. So I have the people who send me these things have trained me like a little dog or seal to answer these things very quickly. So when I'm out, I'm always checking to see if there's a text, if there's this, because I don't want to have anything piled up. You know what I mean? This is how crazy this is. When I was working on the warehouse that we just on my property that we just built out, there was no internet over there. So when I would go over there and work, I could be there for 2-3 hours. I'd come back and my phone would go berserk with text messages and Facebooks and emails and it's we live in a society. We've built up some kind of a dependence on this internet where we're almost like zombies to it. And you're right. People walk around staring at the phone in the restaurants, in the airport, everywhere I go. Everyone's on their phone. No one's talking to each other. Everyone's on their phone. I mean, if the government really wanted to take over and turn us into zombies, they probably could project something right out of the phones. We'd all be freaking hypnotized, and maybe we are already. We don't even know it, for all I know.
Listen, this year, when I turned 50, I didn't tell you, but I've taken up becoming a foodie.
A what?
A foodie. So I go to at least once a week, maybe twice a week. Me and my wife go to a really nice restaurant.
I didn't know that. I didn't even know you like to eat.
I don't. I mean, I like the. I haven't had too many great meals. I've had a lot of expensive meals.
Yeah.
But the first couple times I went out, of course, me oblivious. I thought I was are we at a wedding or something? Because flashbulbs were going off. People were taking pictures of their food.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone, that's the most popular thing they say. Take a picture. I took a picture. I didn't post it. I took a picture of this breakfast Amanda and I went to the other day. It was fucking great. We always go to the same place, and I was in Fort Myers, and we went out early, and I'm like, yeah, let's just Google a place, and it was great. It was in Fort Myers, and we loved it. I can't even remember the name of it. Crave, I think it was called, something like that. It was delicious, and I'd go back there. They had great omelets and everything. But I like that, the fact that you pick a restaurant and go to a different restaurant every time, because we do get caught up in the restaurants that we like, and we only go that we tend to go to the same ones over and over. At least I do, because I'm a creature of habit. If someone wanted to whack me, they would know exactly where to find me. I'd either be at the Chinese restaurant or the sushi buffet or the Golden Corral. But I do like to try different things out, because you know what, it goes back to the old get outside of your comfort zone type of thing.
You do something different.
It's important.
If you don't do anything different, life becomes very boring.
Yeah. But
it really, it can be, right?
Yeah, it could be. I have so much going on.
Even though there's the comfort of doing the same thing over and over, right? I'm not bored. I like to do the same thing over and over, but really, when you reflect on that, there's the reality of, it's easy to do the same thing over and over and to be comfortable doing the same thing over and over, because there's no risk.
True. Now, last week we had a iron debate, single question iron debate. You weren't available; you were out of town. But Boston Lloyd stepped in for you. Flex Wheeler will probably like that, and we talked about gear. Is it a valuable or irresponsible thing to talk about anabolic steroids on the internet? We know they're all over the place on YouTube, everyone's Facebook pages, there's groups, there's forums devoted to it. Is it helping our industry by making people understand the right way to do it, or is it irresponsible in the sense that people are taking injecting crap in their chest and going into the gym, or they're doing it in the parking lot? And it was an interesting debate. And the reason I got Boston Lloyd on is because he's a guy who's very, very out there about dosages and all the crazy stuff that he does. And I'm kind of like on the other side. I talk about it, but I do it in more of a scientific, at least I like to believe, responsible way. So is there room for everything? And it was an interesting topic. John Romano obviously was there and chimed in. So if you guys haven't seen it, it's on the RxMuscle.com website. Chris and I also did a great new edition of Versus, our show where we pit virtual bodybuilder against virtual bodybuilder. And we did Cedric McMillan versus Tony Freeman, which I think was a great matchup. And you guys, I'm sure you'll like to hear Chris and I's opinion on it, who would win in a pose down of those two guys at their best. And that's on the RxMuscle.com website as well as a good an interview with my good friend Roman Fritz from Germany that Johnny put up, and also my other good friend Alessandro Savi from Italy also. So a lot of the videos we did in Germany are still going up. We what it is, Chris, if I don't put these videos a little at a time, then people don't watch them. So it's easier if we put up a few at a time. This coming week, obviously, we're going to have the Ed Connors interview, which is going to be huge. And I also interviewed Don Smith again from California Crazy Wear for a part 2 on some of the craziness that went back on down at the in the Gold's Venice era. A lot of people seem to like the golden age stuff, and Ed was terrific. The Ed Connors interview was I think Ed would have stayed on for another hour. I think he was enjoying it, actually. But did you know that Ed actually now lives in
Palm Springs?
No, he lives in Michigan.
Really?
He left
What's
California.
He doing now? What's he doing? He's worse than me. That's colder than me.
He's working on some new gym there. He's trying to open up. I don't know. It's like this is like a big secret project he's got going on.
No, I didn't. Last I heard, I thought he was in Vegas or Palm Springs and doing developments.
Nope.
Doing building.
Nope. He sold everything, and he's. I was asking him. I said, "Are you upset that you sold the Gold's gym?"
He said no.
He's like, well, sometimes I miss it, but he goes, it was the right time, and I'm sure he made good money on it. He paid. You love this. He paid $100,000 between him, for the original Gold's Gym franchise when it was in Santa Monica. They bought it, and then they moved it, of course. But in 1979, he said he had saved $35,000 for to buy a BMW, and he took that money and he put it in. I guess Pete Grumkowski put in, and then Tim Kimber. Those were the three partners. And Ed was working as an architect for probably a good majority of the next 5 years, because he had to make money. The gym wasn't making money. And I guess the big warehouse opened up on Hampton Avenue over there in Venice. And they said, why don't we move the gym back to its roots, to Venice, California? It's a lot bigger because it was only 4,000 square feet or something like that in Santa Monica. And the parking situation, he said, was terrible. And he knew that they were, knowing being an architect, he knew that the parking was going to destroy that gym in Santa Monica there once it got too busy over there. So they moved it and took a chance. And I didn't know this, but there was no franchises then. Ed started the whole franchise program. Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Joe Gold had a few of them out there. But no, Ed just bought one gym. They bought one gym, and then they turned it into this whole thing.
Did they? Well, I'll have to watch the interview. Yeah. Buying the one gym, did he think about franchising right away, or was it just how that idea dawned on him?
I think he just thought it was like a good investment. It was like, Ed was into bodybuilding. Yeah, obviously he's a bodybuilding fan, and he just loved the subculture of it. And Grumkowski, was into it, and they just said, "Let's do this," And it's Gold's Gym. We got to just keep this name alive, type of thing. So. They did it, but Ed said one of the the biggest things that and I don't want to give away the whole interview, but one of the most important things is what they did was give away a lot of memberships, and they gave away a lot of clothing. He said they made more money in the clothing. He said really the gym was a clothing store that had weight equipment in it.
That's when I was there. When I was there, I forgot the figures, Dave. Somebody told me the figures that they would do on a Saturday in clothing.
Insane.
Yeah, it was like $15,000.
Insane, yeah.
Because, every Saturday.
Yeah, because they had all the tourists coming.
T-shirts. Also T-shirts and sweatshirts. Yep. We're talking 89, 90, 91.
Yep. And you know who was one of the guys who worked in that pro shop? There was
John Smith.
John Cena.
Oh, John Cena. I thought you said the
Don Smith was actually the gym. It was actually the gym manager at one point. But John Cena, the WWE superstar, he was Ed had seen him at some show or something like that in like North Carolina or something like that, and he was like, you'd be a great wrestler. I don't want to tell. You got to watch the thing. I don't want to ruin the story, but he got him out to California, and he had contacts with Vince McMahon and. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this interview. So
listen, Dave, I'll take a picture of it and send it to you when we get off air. I have a picture of me and Samir Bannout, had to be 25 years ago, in Doha, Qatar. And the skyline is one
I think I've seen that. Did you have the headdresses on?
No. This one, we're posing. And behind us is the only building greater than one story in Doha, Qatar. So you can Google the skyline of Doha today, and it looks like, China.
Yeah, it looks like what's it called?
Manhattan, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's one building in the background, and it's 12 stories high. And it's a Sheraton hotel designed by Ed Connors.
Oh, that's right. You told me that. That's hysterical, yeah.
And I somehow Ed had said, something we've been doing, at Doha, Qatar. And he's like, oh, yeah, I designed the hotel there. I said, there's only one hotel. He said, yeah, I designed it.
That's crazy.
It was him and his whatever firm he worked for at the time.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something. I don't know how old Ed is, but he still looks amazing.
He looks great.
He's in great shape. You can tell he takes care of himself. I said, Ed, how did you move? He goes, this is my first winter in 50 years. I said, well, this is my first non-winter in 49 years. I said, so... I said we kind of traded places. I can't believe you're living in Michigan where it's freezing cold. He must have some big project going on there because he would never be there otherwise.
You have to invite him back on to give you his Joe Weider stories. Yeah, we dealt with Joe a lot.
We didn't talk about. We talked to Joe a little bit, but not too much. I mentioned you. He said he was telling us how he gave you the office there, but he had so much. There was so much we had to talk about.
Did he play that down or something? Like it's not a big deal. That's him. Well, it's no big deal. Gave him an office.
Like, Chris, power couple, him and Laura. Brought him out there. He's responsible for so many people in our industry that no one is going to even believe.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm sure we didn't even touch on a lot of them. So He founded everyone. He discovered everyone. And
everyone.
Before they were anyone.
Before there was the internet.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, and I don't know how he did. He was telling how he flew to Mike Matarazzo's he had to go there for like Easter Sunday. He flew to Matarazzo's in Massachusetts. Easter Sunday, all Italian food. He was telling me all the food they were serving him, and he had to convince Matarazzo's father that Mike was good enough to win the USA and that he should come out to California because otherwise he wasn't going to let him.
Bob Gruskin used to talk to Ed a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All the time on the phone.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised.
Because Bob would say this guy, and Ed would bring him out for
Right. Because like Bob was like a talent scout for Bob for Ed.
So I knew you were gonna say that.
Bob would call up and they'd be like, Ed, I got this great guy. Oh, Ed, really? Oh, send a picture. And you probably had to send a Polaroid to him in the mail, And
he would.
And
there was
then
no,
Ed
you could
would
just
fly him out.
text it.
Then Ed's like, give me his home phone number. Remember, there was no cell phones. And then the guy, Ed, would call you at your house. Like you'd be watching like Happy Days or something like that. And Ed would be like, yeah, this is Ed Connors. And, I own the Gold's Gym out there in California. I think you look real great. I'd like to bring you out to California. Blah, blah, blah. And that's how it went back then. He found Jay Cutler.
Yeah, well, Jay has that story.
Yeah.
Jay was coming out for the USA, got the tickets for like $50. It was a misplaced ad on the Boston Globe on how to get out to LA. And Jay was staying in this crappy hotel, and Ed saw him out in front of the gym and said, "Who are you?"
Yeah, he said, "Come stay with me."
Yeah,
stay at my house. Stay at my $1 million house on the beach.
Yeah. So Jay went from like a junk hotel to staying at Ed's.
Yeah, it's a true story. All right, well, I'm sure you got stuff to do today. I got some stuff to do today, and hopefully everyone takes to heart the quote of the week. If you hear a voice within you say you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced. And on that note, we're out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.